So we are about to come on to our 13th year of the Honor Remember Gold Star Family Evening. 13 years. We started this in, I think our first one was in 2010, and 2010 was that year. Started with a handful of families at the Founders Inn and a few speakers, and just wanted to get some families together, to have a wonderful evening of sharing and just enjoying each other, right? Getting to meet each other, and now 13 years later, we're still wanting to make sure that these families are not forgotten. Obviously, their loved ones are not forgotten, but we do that in a different way. But it's the families, Mike, that are still with us, that are still grieving. And we want to make sure that they know personally that they haven't been forgotten, as well as their loved one.
George, one of the awkward things, and I don't really know how to say this, but it's true, is when a soldier, sailor, airman gets killed in action, the wife is the one who, receives the flag and is the one who receives all the honors. And it seems like the mom and dad are sort of not elevated to as proper of a degree of respect as they should be. So is there kind of I don't know, an awkward weirdness among Gold Star families depending upon what the definition of your Gold Starness is?
Right. Oh, that's an interesting question. It used to be that the officers assigned in a casualty would be assigned to next of kin. And next of kin, if that soldier service member were married, was their spouse, man or woman, depending on the service member. And so that when Tony was killed in 2005, that was the case. Whoever's listed as next of kin, they were the one that got all the attention, if you will. And parents were relegated to kind of a side story. And even going to Dover was not something that anybody was allowed to do, back then in 2005. But over the years, that started to evolve because parents started to speak up and say, well, I raised that kid. I birthed that kid. That you can't leave us out of the equation. That, is just not right. And so even though the rights and benefits and things, would pass over to next of kin, the attention was not just, put on who the spouse might be. Because in some cases, Mike, the grandparents raise the child, and not the parents. And so there's a lot of familial units that are involved and invested, in an individual's life. And so it's changed over the years, but you still have the tensions of family members it's just the dynamics of family, right? People don't get along, and that will never change regardless of what the circumstance is. But I think for the most part, from a Department of Defense standpoint, that families have been treated equally in terms of the honor during the process of bringing them home and burial. And of course, things are different now. We're not in an active war, so there's not a tension right now to bringing a body home and to the honor that brings, because according to our government and the media, there's none of that's happening now. Way long answer, sorry.
Yeah, well, the only reason I asked it just popped in my head because Joanne Steen, the last book she wrote, kind of delved into this a little, that there's different degrees of Gold Star familyness, and sometimes mom and dads, for no good reason, are sort of given like second status.
Yeah.
That has hurt some of their feelings.
Oh, absolutely. There's been a lot of hurt feelings out there and are still out there. And then you've got casualty types too, right? because some people think that, well, if my loved one died as a result of serving, not as a result of serving, but in direct action to serving, maybe I should have a different status than someone who died of a medical condition or a motorcycle accident or post-traumatic stress after the fact. And so you've got this whole dichotomy of variation there that drives me crazy, because of how people feel they're stigmatized or not included. And so there's certainly a lot of healing, right, that needs to happen between family relations and between different Gold Star families themselves, from one soldier to another.
Well, anyways, about the holidays, talk to me. You know, I'm involved out at the Horton Wreath Society, putting the wreaths on the graves at Christmas, and Bree is involved with Arlington National Cemetery and putting those wreaths across
Right.
them. So the holidays is already an important time to remember, our fallen heroes. And I'm thinking that's probably why you do your Gold Star dinner at the holiday time of the year too. Talk about what it is that makes the holidays a particularly, important time to remember our Gold Star families and fallen heroes.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens is that, a family member passes, right? And basically you're gone through this process of grief, no matter when that was. I mean, it could have been yesterday, it could have been a year ago, it could have been, Tony's now gone 17 years. And then you've got families from the Vietnam era who are still with us. And so you've got this process of grieving where everybody gloms around you initially, right? And then, your family, your friends, your community, everybody, kind of like rallies around and wants to bring comfort, right? And then time passes, 3 months go by, 6 months go by, a year goes by, and people start to fall away. And after a while, people stop wanting to talk about it, not the families themselves, but even those around. And then the families don't want to bring down the conversation anymore, right? So you start to never bring up that you lost your loved one, and it becomes something that is personal and private, right? I know I lost my son, but I don't need to talk about it, because if I do, I'm going to, ruin somebody's day. And it becomes a very personal and private thing. And so families will begin to, and I don't care how long it takes, because it will happen. It happens to all of us. But eventually, you're not thinking about it, and then you're okay with not thinking about it. But still inside, and I call it silent screaming, inside you wish you could, right? You wish you could say something, on your loved one's birthday, or their favorite song, or their anniversary date, or the day they graduated college. Or there are a million triggers, right? You wish you could, but you can't. And so what we're able to do, as I believe, is to create an opportunity for families who are like-minded, who are in a situation of that club that nobody wants to join, right? But you can't get out of, right? To come together in a place where everybody gets it, right? Everybody gets it. If you want to talk about your loved one, you can. If you don't want to talk about your loved one, you don't have to. But you know that everybody in the room is in the same place you are. And it brings some degree of comfort because of that, right? And so I want to make sure that everybody who wants to, every family member who wants to, has that place. Some don't need it, some don't want it, some are afraid of it, but have that opportunity to know that here's a venue that's really special, that, is top notch, first class, that you can come and enjoy and just be a part of. And I think that by giving families that kind of an opportunity, you bring, again, the word healing, a little bit more healing to recognize that they haven't been forgotten. Their loved ones are gone. They're not here. They're not coming back, but they are here. And they're going to keep grieving through all of these processes and all these trigger points for the rest of their life. And we want to make sure that they know that we're not going to forget, whether they come or not, right? They know that we are going to relentlessly pursue putting together a venue in which they are never forgotten. And that's why we continue to do our runs every year, Mike, and we try to expand those runs, because it's not about whether or not you can be there or not be there. It's a matter of you knowing that, hey, here's an organization that really never forgets, no matter what it takes to put together, we will be there and continue. And, that's the importance of it.
I was just sitting here thinking, we came through those 2 years of COVID. Did that mess up the dinner?
I am so, persistent that even through COVID, it as its worst time with all the restrictions in Virginia, we had first been told that we were okay to gather with 250, attendees. And we were okay. And the hotel said, okay, great. We can have 250 attendees. I said, wonderful. We'll limit it to 250. 2 weeks before the venue, they said, oh, by the way, now we're limited to 25. You can't have 250. The governor has now said that you can't gather in groups bigger than 25. And I went, okay, great. And then so the hotel said, well, in that case, we'll just let you know if the governor changes that. I said, we have an event in 2 weeks. I said, you can't wait to tell me whether the governor is going to open that restriction or not. I'm 2 weeks away. I've got to make a decision. So I said to the hotel, how many rooms of 25 can you make me? And so we ended up with, I think, 8 rooms. And I said, okay, well, how about if I put 25 people in a room, in as many rooms as you can give me? And we ended up with, like I said, I think 8 rooms of 200. And I said, we're not going to, anybody who feels comfortable gathering, I want to give them an opportunity to gather.
Well, that's
right?
good. That's good. Yeah.
So
like
we didn't miss a beat.
Last year was a more normal, like everybody in one room.
Everybody, last year was more normal. We still had hesitation because people didn't want to gather. Some people didn't want to gather, but we still had over 300 family members there last year. So everybody was more back to, and I think this year we're going to be more back to normal. I already have almost 150 registrants, which is way more than I've ever had this early.
Well, let me ask you the hard question, and that is, food isn't free. And, point is, I know, anybody watching this on TV tonight that says, hey, that's a really nice thing, I'd like to help out. What do you urge citizens and corporations and good community partners to do if they want to help out this Gold Star family cause?
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for that opportunity. Is one of the most important things, this is not a fundraising event. This is an event that we created that we hoped would pay for itself so that we wouldn't have to go in the hole. I mean, that was the objective of this. And it has always been the objective of this, for years. And, I think sometimes, I'm going to give you a long answer, I'm sorry. But I think sometimes that if I could just win the lottery, which I don't play, by the way, but if I could just win the lottery and self-fund this thing, I would just make it happen, make it happen, make it happen. But what you miss out is you miss out including people that want to be a part of blessing, the dynamics of this group, right? You miss out people going, you know what? I think it's important that we gather these families together and they get to love on each other. And I want to be a part of participation so that I can make it happen. I mean, if it's $1, if it's $10,000, it doesn't matter. But so I really embrace the opportunity to give other groups, individuals, churches, veterans organizations, corporations. We have so many like military contractors in the Hampton Roads area. Yet I think I have one or two that even donate to this evening after 13 years. But to give those who want to participate, those patriots who think it's important, to to help us. And so, yeah, we have sponsorships. We, covet those sponsorships and ask people, to join in and be a part of it, but not just to give with money. We have an auction, that we love to put together. It's a silent auction. People can give auction items, but also attend. We want the community to attend and meet these families and hear these stories. These families are coming in from all over the country. We have families coming in from California, from Arizona, from Indiana, from Florida, from Vermont. They're coming from all over, and some of them from the very first time. And so I would ask, absolutely, join us, be a part of making this a success. Go to honorandremember.org/banquet. And that would be the way to find out, what sponsorship opportunities there are. Buy a ticket and come to the banquet. Come in, join us, and be a part of this. It's a great night. We have great entertainment. We have a Silver Star recipient from Vietnam who's going to speak to us. He's an amazing guy, Ron McAdance. We have flag presentations to 5 families that we're making. One of those families is a police officer, who was killed. There are so many that we're going to have some special guests there that evening, as we always do. And so, yeah, we would like sponsorship, participation, and auctions, however anybody wants to give. When my son came to me, you've heard me say this, and I'll say it over and over until I'm dead. When my son came to me and said, I just joined the Army, Dad, I leave for boot camp on Saturday. He didn't ask my permission. I said, you're crazy. You can get hurt. And so, what happened? Long story short. But I say that because every parent in America would rather somebody else's kid gave their life for their country besides their own. I mean, that's just a natural inclination. I wish my son was still here and that somebody else gave their life instead of him. I'm selfish, sorry about that. But you know what? Somebody else's kid, somebody else's loved one is dying, is serving, so that yours doesn't have to. And so what's the least that we can do? So my message to the patriots out there is, say thank you. How do you say thank you? Well, to me, the flag, the Honor and Remember flag, and the creation of that is the ultimate way to say thank you. Fly it on your flagpole. But when we do an event such like this, you can say thank you by participating in helping us bring healing and comfort to the families who have given their loved ones. That costs hardly anything to do that. So get involved. Don't just sit there and listen. Get involved.